Hello, dear ones. Today we're talking about a very interesting phenomenon, something you might have experienced often and perhaps have never really been able to categorize until now. Namely, this phenomenon when you set out to do something new, something positive, and think, okay, and now I can do it, and now I will change it. Then something happens that makes you fall right back into the opposite, and you really regress. Do you know something like that? Then stay tuned. Welcome to Soul Tapping. Today, it's about the law of opposites. There are a few mental laws that aren't really part of our general knowledge yet, but you should definitely look into them, especially if you're dealing with personal development or trying to come out of a depression. For example, there's the law of attraction, and I've already made a video about that. But there's also the law of opposites. And it states that basically it describes the state of our duality, our dual world. So, the small can only exist if there is also the large. Otherwise, you wouldn't know that something is small, or warmth only exists if there is something cold. That's what it means. So, you can only achieve the positive if it is in the context of something negative. According to Neale Donald Walsh, it is always said that the light. If you want to determine that you are the light, you can only do so if you venture into the darkness. Because a candle flame would not be visible within the sun, but only when it ventures into the darkness. And, according to Walsh, that is the reason why we enter this dual life. To recognize ourselves as the light, we must go into the darkness. That's why when we incarnate here, we come in a human body, we first forget who we really are, and we forget that everything is actually light. So, and this law, it is a natural law, it always works. It works in our everyday life without us being aware of it. Other laws you see immediately. Gravity, for example, if something falls down, then you know, okay, we have gravity here. But the law of opposites is not so clear, and that's why I want to tell you about it today. So, I have often experienced on my way out of depression that for example, resolve to no longer be afraid, to trust from now on. And then, in a very short time, I felt really, really good. Like, I trust now and I'm not afraid anymore. But then it doesn't take long. And some catastrophe happens that makes me really scared again. And, for example, I once mentioned that when I had this generalized anxiety disorder, I was constantly worried about my children, that something would happen to them because they were really still small. And, when I was with them, along the big street with the little bikes wobbling around, and then I told myself, like this, and now I choose to trust. And I'm not afraid anymore. Then I trusted, and then bam. One of the kids already fell down. And I jumped into panic again. That's a typical everyday example of it. I have experienced that over and over again. Whenever I was feeling better, for whatever reason, and I felt really good, something always came up. My thought was always, here comes life with the frying pan and hits me again. To show me, I used to think that I'm not worthy of being healthy, being happy, that I don't deserve it. That I too will be lucky. So, I had all these kinds of thoughts, interpreted it all very negatively, that I was somehow doomed to misfortune and that I'm not worthy of nice things happening to me. Until I finally came across this law of opposites. Through Neale Donald Walsh, and suddenly everything made sense. When you shine a flashlight on something where there was darkness before, you first see all the dirt. So, it's kind of like when you cast the light of your consciousness on all your problems, it becomes uncomfortable at first. Everyone who has been in therapy knows this. You first see all the bad things. That means it's completely normal for things to get worse initially when you start psychotherapy. Because you first see all the mess that you hadn't looked at before. And when you invite light-filled things into your life, positive feelings, positive thoughts, it initially brings all this negativity to the forefront. It then comes into your life, it comes into your consciousness. And if you don't know this, if you can't properly categorize it, you might interpret it in your typically depressive way, like I did. Where I asked myself, what did I do to deserve this? But that's the wrong question. So the question, I'm feeling bad, what did I do to deserve this, doesn't lead you to healing in any way. You should ask yourself, when something negative happens to you, you should rather ask yourself, what positive opposite wants to come into my life? That's the question turned around, so the question asked from the other end. And that can definitely be quite helpful, if you just make yourself aware of it. And keep in mind that this might also apply to you. When any negative things happen to you, that you have brought it about because you wished for the positive opposite. And your job then is to simply endure this negative now, and know that everything is going according to plan and that the positive will come afterward. And the negative has only come to prepare the context so that you can properly place the positive and recognize it as something positive. Feel free to write in the comments if you understand what I'm talking about, if you can relate to it, or if you've ever had these thoughts like, I don't deserve it, or this always happens to me. But I'm also a jinx. Or whatever. So, this interpretation doesn't get you anywhere. Just tell yourself, okay, what beautiful thing wants to come into my life? I'm already looking forward to it. And the negative, I'll endure it for now. And I can handle it. It's a bit like life is giving you an extra tough school. It's already difficult for someone who has anxiety disorders to trust. And then life comes along and makes it even harder for us. But if you know that, if you endure it and continue to bravely practice, not giving up, but instead keep saying, okay, and maybe next time I'll manage to trust, then it will gradually get better. So awareness is everything. If you know the law, then you can deal with it. Okay, my dear ones, you are always welcome to like my video if you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments. You are welcome to subscribe to my channel. And if you ever want to work with me, then take a look at my website at www.seelenklopfen.de. And maybe sign up for a coaching session. Until then, take care. Goodbye.